Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Surviving the Badge, a show where we talk about our experiences and how we survived the badge. Warning, this show is not for kids or for those whom are offended by cursing and or alcohol consumption. I'm just going to do a little introduction here. My name is Ronnie. I was a police officer for a little over 35 years. Various experience. The last 21 years of that were in management and or supervision. I was a drug agent, traffic unit, canine supervisor, patrol sergeant, patrol lieutenant, and patrol officer, obviously. Camille.
I'm Camille, and I was 20 years in law enforcement. 15 of that was investigation. I investigated everything from economic crimes and multi-level identity theft to murders, officer-involved shootings. I have a master's degree in criminal justice, and I'll be the one talking about most of the investigative aspects tonight. John.
And I am John. I am 21 years experience in police department. Most of it was in patrol. Some of it was in traffic, a few years in investigations. But like I said, most of it is patrol is where I did most of my time, and therefore I'm going to be discussing the patrol angle to a lot of what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, just want to go over our merch is in, guys. As you can see, I'm wearing one of our shirts right now in the heather gray. You can see the nice logo on the front, comes out really nice. Don't know if you're going to be able to see the back due to the camera angle, but it comes out really, covers the whole back of the shirt. Super nice, 100%, I think it's 100% cotton. But Camille, you got a mug there, right?
I do, I got a mug. It looks really good, you can't even feel it. It has a really crisp color to it. It's good size, you can see everything, so mugs are really good.
And here's one of the stickers for the car. Obviously on camera it's going to be hard to read, but very nice stickers. And from what they say, they are for inside and outside on your vehicles or wherever you're going to put them.
Yeah, so T-Public, and it's all and it's on our Facebook page and it's on our Instagram page. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Is that it? Everything else that we have, hit that button.
Anchor.
All the smashing and make sure and subscribe to everything. Like, subscribe, bells, all that kind of stuff.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Ronnie, you want me to go ahead?
Yep, go ahead.
All right, so a couple of things. What we're going to start is we're going to put our police patches on the wall there, and then we're going to start collecting patches from you guys who listen, and we're going to be providing you an address so you can send us your patches so we can kind of have a patch collection of your agencies. So we're excited about that. First thing I'm going to start off, like usual, we talk about fallen officers, and the last episode we did was September 10th, and between September 10th and now, we've lost 12 police officers in the line of duty. 287 this year so far. Gunfire and all auto-related deaths are on the rise. Gunfire is up 17%. Auto-related deaths are up 25%. And in this period between September 10th and today, we lost 8 officers from COVID-19, 2 officers from gunfire, 2 vehicle-related. One was a crash and one was a struck by vehicle. And then we also lost 1 canine from heat stroke. So that's happened in the last 2 weeks.
Right.
And then
almost 3.
Yeah. And then one more thing in Florida, North Florida, in Nassau County, a deputy stopped an individual during a traffic stop and was shot. He's in the hospital right now, so our prayers and thoughts are going out to that officer. The suspect also shot at the helicopter and shot a canine dog. I think the canine is okay, but let's remember.
Hey, while we're mentioning that,
yes,
the 2 canines from Volusia County.
Yes.
Both of them were shot and injured. Were rushed to the emergency vet hospital and came out of it, and they're doing extremely well. So
good.
Those canines are freaking unbelievable.
It's amazing.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely. So a glass to our fallen officers.
Salute.
Salute.
So we're gonna wait for the beer
With
for
that being said, Sorry. With that being said, because this is a unique episode, we're going to go right into tonight's beer moment with John.
All right. Ronnie, if you
All right, get 'em
nice
out.
refrigerator you got there.
Thanks, I just bought it.
I need my glass back. Thank you. Sorry.
All right.
And today we have Lawn Chair IPA. This is by the Ormond Brewing Company, which is in Ormond, Florida. Again, we got this at Kenny's Grocery, located in Orange City at 1792 and French Avenue.
Yep.
So if you're going towards Blue Springs, it's right there on the corner. Stop in.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, love that sound.
Ooh,
Over
that's a
350
elite-
craft beers, and we're trying to utilize them as much as we can. We're trying to stay local. But if you guys have a beer you want to recommend,
Please tell us. We'd love it.
Absolutely.
We'd love to try out something that you guys, but we're trying to stay with the local breweries, guys, in the state of Florida if we can. And then sometimes we may venture out if the case, involves something in a different county or, state or something like that.
or
But-
Ronnie's buying a beer.
Yeah. Or if you happen to own a brewery or a store and would like to sponsor our beer moment, we would love to have you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the beer.
Yes.
Color looks good.
Yeah, it's a little hazy.
Hazy.
That's okay. That means that's flavor.
A little hazy. I
Well,
like it.
Let me read the blurb on the back real quick. Lawn Chair IPA is brewed for those days where you need a thirst-quenching, low-alcohol brew to enjoy all day, but want a mouthful of citrusy hop bitterness and aroma. At only 5.3, it has all the flavor without as much bite. So put your cooler next to your lawn chair in the sunshine and drink your cares away.
Forgot.
Okay, that's fine.
So
Okay. I'll start. I usually don't like IPAs. I'm not an IPA fan, and this is an IPA, but it's on that verge of liking it.
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
It's not an over the top for me. I'm not an IPA guy.
I am not either.
I could drink
No.
this,
But it's not super hoppy.
no, I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, it's really not.
Well, because it's a lawn chair IPA. It's not a
Right.
regular IPA.
yeah.
I mean, I taste a little bit of the citrus.
Yeah, the coriander.
Yeah, but it's also it is not sharp like most IPAs are. The hoppiness is not there. So,
I'll give it a 6.5 for me.
for not being a fan of IPAs, I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
Well,
Yeah, I actually really like it. It tastes like something that I had just the other day that was a little bit hoppy. So it's got a little, you can tell it's an IPA,
Yeah.
it's got a little bit of hop, but it's not, like you said, doesn't have that bitter bite to it. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a strong 7, man.
Okay.
I like it.
yeah, it's almost to me. If it had a little bit of more orange flavor, it'd be like a shock top.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very
It
close
was a
to Shock Top.
little bit hoppier than
Yeah,
a shotgun.
right.
Like I'm drinking Fat Tire here, and it's
A
a little hoppier
spicier.
than that.
That coriander is biting through a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yeah.
not hard,
Mhm.
but
Yep, I agree.
so I guess we gave it a 7 out of 10. So.
I had to finish the Fat Tire because I didn't want to waste a good beer. I mean,
you
come
never
on.
you never waste beer, man.
So again, that's Lawn Chair IPA from Ormond Brewing Company. You can get it at Kenny's Grocery.
So today we're going to go into what everybody knows, unless you've been living under a rock, the Gabby Petito case. We're going to start off with a little bit of background, and then we're going to discuss some things. We're going to discuss some things as we go along, but the way we're going to kind of break down this episode is we're going to look at it from 3 different angles. I'm going to look at it from the investigative. John's going to look at it from the
Beer burp.
from patrol, and then LT's going to look at it from a supervisory position. This is behind the scenes. Inside baseball, we've been discussing and arguing about this case for the last week. It's been quite.
Yeah, I wish you could see our text
Interesting.
streams. If we would have been in the same room, I think a couple of times we'd have probably punched each other because we've been arguing back and forth about it. But that's great. That's what makes this, whole thing really good. I love it. It's
Yes.
great.
So Gabby Petito and her fiance, right?
Yes, they were
Brian
fiancé.
Laundrie. They lived back in July. They were currently living in North Point, Florida. And if you don't know where that is, that's just a little bit south of Sarasota.
Northport.
What did I say?
North Point. It's
North
Yeah,
Point.
Northport.
You
We're
know.
good. We're good.
NP, Florida. So Gabby's originally from New York, and her family lives up there. She and Brian decided they wanted to take a road trip to Gabby's brother's high school graduation. So they go up there. They depart Florida July 2nd, and after the graduation, they decided that they were going to take about a 4-month road trip out west, see the sights, go to the Grand Canyon, see all the things into that. So they're going out, and she was a big travel blogger. She would put her stuff on YouTube. She had a van she'd sleep in and all that, and she would record all of her events, and it's still on there. You can see all the recordings of this trip. It's all right. So they make it out to Utah, and on August 12th, they are in the town of Moab, Utah, when there's an altercation, and it's not 100% clear what exactly happened in this altercation, but a 911 call came in that this gentleman or this man was beating and slapping a female and pushed her into the van and took off. Law enforcement stops the van. There's an hour 17-minute video, and you can watch that.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, and that's probably one of the biggest arguments we had about. So comes to find out that Gabby, long story short, attacked Brian with her cell phone and scratching and things like that, and the officers visibly saw scratch marks, wounds, injuries of an assault.
And if you watch the video, you can see he's got a big old gash in the side of his face right here. I'm not sure if it'd be the right side. He had it on the right side of his face. You can see it, clear as a bell.
One of the officers at the scene calls the 911 caller who made the original call about the domestic violence. And he comes back and talks to the primary officer and tells him that when he talked to the 911 caller, the 911 caller said what he saw, and then the officer said, could it have been that he was pushing her away? Like if she was attacking, scratching, on him like a spider monkey, could it have been him, defending himself, blocking? And it turned out the 911 caller said, you know what, it could have been that way. I can't swear to it. And that's what the officer told the primary.
All right, make a mark. Just make a mark and hold your place. Because this is where I'm going to bring up some conversation. And whether it be negative, positive, whatever.
Okay, go ahead.
If you're talking to an authority figure, and the authority figure says, and this is one thing you're taught in interview school, how to lead a witness or how to lead a victim the way you want the victim or the suspect to go or whatever. If you start suggesting, I'm just throwing it out there.
Absolutely.
If you start suggesting things, and you're talking to an authority figure, so that unless you just don't give a shit if you argue with the authority figure or not, I would say 8 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10, I'll give it a little bit better odds, you're going to, as a lay person, a person that doesn't know anything about the law enforcement, anything else, cops asking you, well, could it have been, or could he have been pushing her away? Unless you absolutely are 1,000% sure, and you saw him on top of her pounding her, and it was so egregious that oh my God, no, it had happened this way. You may go, well, yeah, it could have been maybe that way. I saw him there in the car, So I'm not saying the officer did anything wrong at all by suggesting that.
Well, you're
by saying that.
Right. I would argue
by saying that.
Okay.
Let's say by saying that.
Okay.
However, and anyway, hold your thought. By saying that, I'm not saying anything wrong, that he did anything wrong at all. Because you have to get to the bottom of it, and was it this or was it that?
Right.
But I believe you don't hear the entire conversation on the officer's video of the entire call with the 911 caller.
Correct.
So, did he further go into, hey, you know, tell me exactly what, I mean, did he go further into that? Did he lead him further that way? Or did he bring him back into exactly what happened? I don't know.
Right.
But just what I heard on there, I just don't like when you're talking to victims or witnesses. I don't like leading questions.
Okay.
I just, yes, you have to steer the interview and keep it going. Of course you do. Or they'll go off into 400 tangents.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like any steerage in the way of, well, do you think maybe it was just this? Or you think maybe, because let me tell you something. In my 35 years, and I'm not in any way, don't take this wrong, audience, I'm not saying this, I'm just saying my experience. I have seen cops that were lazy, who did not want to take a report, who did not want to make an arrest, who did not want to get involved in this thing, steer a victim or a witness right out of the zone of freaking probable cause. Not saying that happened here. This is why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Or right out of wishing to prosecute or whatever.
Right.
So I was just going to say, I mean, in this case, from what I could tell, okay, and I don't know if we're going to go into this in depth later on, but
Yeah.
Gabby said she hit him and scratched him. He had the scratch marks on him. She never said that he hit her or anything like that. So now the problem is, now I got a 911 caller, a witness, who said he was slapping her. But all the evidence and all the admissions say that's not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So now I got to figure out, do I take the word of the 911 caller who's not interested and therefore is normally considered a good
Unbiased
witness?
I wouldn't say he's not interested or he
Well, no.
wouldn't call.
Well, no, what I mean is not interested in the incident, like, as a party. He has nothing to do with
He
the
has
case.
no stake in the
Right,
game.
he has no
I got
stake
you.
in the game.
Yeah, I got you.
So, total stranger calls in and says he was slapping
Right.
her. Okay? All the evidence and statements from those involved says he wasn't slapping her. She has no marks on her. She has nothing on her. He's got scratches. She admits to it. He says that she did it. So how is this witness saying that he was slapping on her when there's no evidence to do that? So when you've got that, you also, as a good officer, have to be able to explain away why did you not have any
Totally agree.
Or the inconsistency here. And
Right.
the way I kind of see it is the officer was maybe expanding the mind of the caller to see other possibilities.
Right.
Totally agree.
So, all right,
Okay.
let's go
Totally
on.
agree.
All right.
But while he's saying that, because I didn't watch the entire video.
Right. I sat
I
through it.
about fell asleep.
Yeah, it's not page turning.
Did anybody ask her, did any of the officers at all ask her if at any point or time did he lay a hand on you?
So yes, and what she said is that he grabbed her here, and she was actually pushing on her head like this.
But
And to me, that's get off of me and please stop scratching me. It hurts.
But you can't assume that.
Well, the way she explained it, it was while she was scratching him.
yes.
Oh, but did she say that?
No,
she didn't.
Right. But people aren't going to say
I know,
exactly
I
the way
know.
you want them to
Let's
say.
get back onto
All
this
right,
because we're
all
going to talk
right,
about
hang on.
it later.
All right.
And we can get into all these things.
This hour and 17-minute call, the entire time leading up to it, the officer was convinced that he was going to arrest Gabby for domestic violence. Assault up in Utah, it's assault. In Florida, it would be battery. Domestic violence, states are different. And it seems like there was an option to write an NTA, which in Florida we can't write an NTA for domestic violence, so that's a little weird. And what the plan was is they were going to write her a notice to appear, let her take the van, sleep wherever, parking lot, campground, whatever, and put him, Brian, in an abuse, not a shelter, but it's a hotel that the abuse shelter would pay for because he's a victim of this domestic violence. And then per the arrest, there's an automatic no contact order. But the victim can sign a waiver of that. So the plan was she gets arrested, sleeps wherever, notice to appear. He goes to a hotel. Next morning, he comes to the agency, writes the waiver. They get together and they cruise on down the road. An hour and 15 minutes into it, the officer changes his mind and says, you know what? She's not a real, and don't take this as judging. It's easy.
We weren't there, guys.
Right.
Right.
It's easy for
We
us.
weren't
It's
there.
easy for anybody to say, well, we would have done it differently. But
Hold
what?
on.
So what? And we'll get a little more.
Let me get my judging pipe out.
Gotta get a longer one.
Yeah, I know. One of them ones
Right.
way down there, but then you couldn't see it on
Yeah,
camera.
that's true.
Then and we'll get more into this and some theories that we have about that. But what ended up happening at the end was they decided not to arrest her because she was not a threat to Brian. They did give her the van to sleep somewhere else, and they did put him in the hotel for abuse victims. So they were separated that night, and then the next day they got back together. So the end results probably would have been exactly the same.
I disagree.
That's fine. You can
I
disagree.
totally freaking disagree. But go ahead.
With the NTA. Well, we'll talk about
Go
it.
ahead.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
All right. So they are on the road again after this incident. They separate. So August 25th rolls around, and a witness driving through the countryside, through campgrounds, wherever. They're filming while they're driving, and they see a van with Gabby in it. So law enforcement sees that August 25th was probably the last time that she was seen by any witnesses outside of Brian alive. Now, when they talk to the family, of Gabby, they said she does have a tendency, because of her travel vlogs, to go off grid for a little bit.
Yeah,
And
I did read that.
They
Yeah.
expected
Thank
her, maybe not to be out of touch for 2-3 days.
Just
Are,
saying.
are we boring you, Ronnie?
No, man. Gotta get my Georgia in there.
This guy, right?
Speed it up, though. Come on, Camille.
It's a long story. All right,
You
so
made it longer.
parents said it's not abnormal that she goes off the grid, but as soon as she has a cell, she contacts them, FaceTimes them, posts her blogs, all that stuff.
Yeah, she's not a real. It doesn't sound like to me, from listening to that, reading some of the stories, that she is one of those that calls mom every night or every other night. Like
Right.
my wife, she calls her mother every single night
Right.
to check on her and make sure her mother's getting up there a little bit.
Yeah.
But she calls her every night.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My daughter calls her mom, if not every night, every other night. Just, hey, how's it going? How's your day? Blah, blah. She's not that kind.
No, because she's
At all.
sometimes she's out of any contact ability.
Right.
So August 30th, 5 days later, Gabby's mom gets a text, and the text says,
No service in Yosemite.
no service in Yosemite, and that's it. And mom's like, well, that's a little weird. Okay, that's you chalk it up to being weird.
They don't believe it was sent by, that she sent that.
Ultimately, they did not believe that it was sent by. So August 30th rolls around, gets a text, no cell in Yosemite. Yosemite is on the east side of northern middle California. September 1st, guess what? Guess what happened September 1st? You guys know?
I think Landry
He
returned.
shows back up in North Point.
What?
Northport, without her.
How far is that?
That's like a
42
3-day
hours
drive.
That's about 40 hours. That's a 42-hour drive from Yosemite to, and that's just driving.
Yeah.
That's not peeing.
So sleeping, and everything else, like a 3-day drive,
Yeah.
3 or 4-day drive,
Using a debit card. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
which is the holding charge.
Yes. So September 1st, Brian shows up at his parents' house in Northport. Where's it Point?
Northport.
Okay, had me thrown off. Without Gabby in Gabby's van. Hey, Mom, Dad, I'm home. And he's like, you're home? Not we're home? So that must have been an interesting conversation. I would love to have been a fly on the wall with that one.
Stephanie just popped in. She goes, Yosemite Tex was him.
What?
Yeah.
Don't assume.
He's the root
Wow.
student, Texas.
Yeah.
September 11th, Gabby's parents report Gabby missing to the Suffolk County Police Department, Sheriff's Office?
Police department up there.
Police Department in
yes.
New York, because that's where they live. So they decided to report her missing in that agency. And we're going to talk about...
Is that Long Island? Suffolk County?
I believe so.
I'm not positive. But
Okay.
I believe
I don't
so.
know.
Yeah. I don't think it's Manhattan.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to talk about the jurisdictional issues with John and LT in a bit. Reports her missing September 11th. A couple of days later, law enforcement shows up at Brian's folks' house. Hey, where's Brian? And they end up
Fifth
giving...
Amendment, Sixth Amendment.
Yeah, they end up telling law enforcement, hey, he has an attorney, here's the contact, blah, blah, blah. Now, John, you had some information that
Well-
kind of that fills in between the 1st and the 11th. that I
And
didn't
here's
have.
one of the things that I have a big question on.
I was just said it is Long Island. Somebody just said it
okay.
is Long Island.
Long
Yankee
Island.
Tony?
Long Island. No, actually it was Dave.
No, Dave's not here.
Dave's not here,
Dave's
man.
not here.
The neighbors reported that the neighbors of Brian Laundrie and his parents stated that they just bought a camper cover for their pickup truck, a small little camper, and Brian and the parents went camping the weekend after he got back. So that puts it at September 3rd to the 5th. That's when that happened.
Hold that thought, because one of our viewers just said and brought up a damn good point. Kimberly, she brings up a damn good point. Why didn't the boyfriend's parents call her parents and say, hey, she isn't here? Why weren't they asking the boyfriend or the fiance, where's Gabby?
Especially
We
if
don't
you
see
have
Gabby.
especially if you have her vehicle.
Yeah, her car's here. Where's Gabby?
Some parents go into total protection mode.
And if he
Right.
went into some bullshit, oh, I dropped her off over there, she's gonna be over there, she's sick or
She's
whatever.
with some friends, I'm
You
going to
know,
go pick her
I
up in
mean-
a few weeks.
Is there a reason you
in a
gotta
week.
interrupt me every time I'm making a point, though?
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway,
All right.
He's not sorry.
I know. So
All right,
September 3rd through 5th
so they went camping.
is when when he supposedly went camping. I don't know if any law enforcement or any other person actually saw Brian Landry after that time.
Now, did the neighbors see Brian or just the parents?
I believe they saw Brian leave to go camping because their specific comments were in reference to, why would you take your 23-year-old son camping in a small camper like that? Now,
Well,
this is one of those
unless-
pickup truck camp over things.
Unless you have a tent for him to sleep
And that's,
in.
but what I'm saying is,
Right.
so they saw Brian go with him,
Yeah, okay. So it did
Okay.
stand out. It did stand out.
and I know we're going to get to this in a few minutes, but so November 3rd or 5th is the last person anyone independent, as far as I'm aware,
Has
seen Brian Laundrie.
Right.
She is not reported missing until the 11th.
Right. So,
So we're all looking for him,
that's 6 days after they went
Right.
camping.
but he may have been gone then,
Right.
because as you said, it was Kimberly brought up. Why didn't the parents ask, where's Gabby? Maybe they did, and maybe they know.
Yeah, I mean, total protection mode. Some
So-
parents are just in that protection mode.
So, all right, let's go back on, because you asked me.
All right, so September 11th, Petito's family report Gabby missing. Law enforcement goes to Brian's house, knock on the door, and I'm not sure if the parents handed a piece of paper or a card, but they indicate to law enforcement that Brian has an attorney, and that's all they're going to talk to law enforcement about, and that's fine. People in the United States have a Fifth Amendment right to protection against self-incrimination, a Sixth Amendment right to an attorney, so that's fine. They did a search warrant on the van, and then somewhere, and I don't have a date on this, but the FBI was called in because of the multi-state nature of the investigation. The FBI was involved. Now I know that FBI, you're kidnapping FBI, but states have kidnapping laws Also, so if somebody was kidnapped in Daytona Beach and taken to Port Orange, the state could prosecute that, and
Right.
that wouldn't have to be a federal crime. But because of the
Multi-jurisdictional.
multi-jurisdictional, multi-state, it's just easier for the FBI to work that. September 15th, Brian is named as a person of interest. Duh.
In her disappearance at this point.
In her disappearance.
We don't have a crime at that point.
Right.
But just in her being missing.
It's suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Anyway, September 17th, Brian's family reports him missing. So it's like, you're missing. It's like an Oprah show. You're missing, and you're missing. No,
I'm not missing, you're missing.
September 19th. Things are just rolling right along quickly. September 19th, a body was found in Wyoming near where they had been camping. And the 20th, they did a search warrant of Brian Laundrie's home. Now, let me ask you this. And I know that I should ask this in the investigative aspect of it, but I think I'll probably forget. When you're searching, and I know that when you're doing a search warrant of a house, you do the curtilage. So that includes any vehicles that are on that curtilage.
As long as it's named in the warrant.
Well, does a vehicle have to be, and maybe things have changed, does a vehicle have to be named in the warrant if it's inside the curtilage?
No.
Because you do a warrant, that's how I remember it. We do a warrant and curtilage thereof, anything inside that curtilage, you can search.
As long as
Any people inside that curtilage, you could search.
As long as the warrant specifically, or says anything inside the curtilage of that. Yeah, and absolutely. And all of them do.
And yeah, Aldo was I've ever done. And that the item you're searching for could fit in that vehicle.
Could be found where you're searching.
Right. If you're searching for stolen elephants, you probably couldn't search a car.
Right.
That's on the curtilage, unless you say elephant parts. Right. That's how we always did in warrants, like pieces and parts. But I always wondered this: if they're doing the search warrant and somebody just drives into the curtilage, you can search that car too now, right?
I believe so. And a lot of that depends on state laws. State laws are different, obviously.
Yeah, because it was a federal warrant. You're right.
Right.
Okay.
We used to set up deals
I know. I tell my students that.
on the property.
Yeah.
I mean, they would call in while we were executing the search warrant. And we'd say, sure, come on by. Yeah, man, come on by. Yeah, no problem. Come on by. And they drive up and bada boom, bada boom.
As long as they're they drive up in the driveway,
yeah.
not along the road.
And if they didn't, we just sent an officer to follow them until they had PC to stop them.
Yeah.
But you had that PC, but
Okay.
probable cause.
I wasn't sure if it still was the same, but you're right. It's a federal warrant, so they have to go by federal rules.
I don't know what the hell those are, because those are totally different than ours.
September 18th, the day after Brian was reported missing, law enforcement starts searching wooded areas and reserves and all that kind of stuff. 21st, the body was found that was...
No, the body was found on the 19th. The 21st is the autopsy.
Oh, the autopsy. Sorry, 21st is the autopsy of Gabby, and they determined it to be homicide. Now, autopsies will determine a few different things. Was it an accident? Was it suicide? Was it undetermined? Let's say you find a skeletal remains and you can't determine the death. Was it accident or was it homicide? And they determined that it was homicide, which means that one person killed another. Now, the medical examiner is not going to determine murder, which is the unlawful killing, but they will say if a person killed this one, because it could be self-defense, could be another thing, but it was determined that one person killed Gabby.
Patrick says it should be put in just to be safe. So the vehicles, and we used to say the premises, and all of outbuildings on the premise or on the property.
The premisi?
Yeah, on the property, along with any vehicles contained on the property will be searched for. Blah blah blah.
Right.
Joey said the same thing. He said it should just be included in there.
Okay.
So we are getting some input from something like that, and they said the word of the day is now curtilage.
Curtilage.
Since we said curtilage about 22 times. And we just said it again. So,
Curtilage.
Shut up, Pat.
So
and
is it,
Joey.
Is it going to start a drinking game?
And
How many-
Dave.
It's going to start a drinking game. How many times do you say curtilage and drink?
You don't have to wait for Christmas and the Grinch to be on. Just watch us.
All right.
Okay, so I'm almost done with the background here. Autopsy. Now, I don't know. Are autopsies quicker now? Because I remember when I was investigating, you had a preliminary autopsy report, which you could have the basics, but it was never the official finished until toxicology came back, and that was like 30 days.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the autopsy is not complete.
Right.
Okay, what they did was they did an
Preliminary.
internal and external investigation of the body itself.
Mhm.
Okay, they still have to wait for any blood results and all that stuff. But so they're going to note any injuries or anything like that. So that's where they're going to see, is there potentially a gunshot wound? Is there potentially a stab wound? Things
Right.
like that. That's what they're going to find at the initial autopsy. However, the entire autopsy report rarely is done because it depends on the situation. They have to do a tox screen, looking for any, foreign substances in the body. Potentially disease or something
Right.
like that may happen, which has to be analyzed in a lab.
Yeah, I remember working officer-involved shootings, and these officers who were relatively cleared. It was a pretty clear, self-defense case, but we couldn't, provide them the total until like a month before we could let them get back to work. So autopsy, September 23rd. Law enforcement continue to search the woods all over the state of Florida. 23rd, which is 2 days ago, the FBI issues an arrest an arrest warrant for Brian.
For what?
For what? That's you know what? I just found it when I was driving in.
Oh, okay. It was debit card fraud.
It was.
Which is why I made the reference to when you said he drove back from
yes.
Wyoming.
Yep.
All the way to Northport.
He used
And
his
just driving 42 hours. But, he stopped and used a debit card and charged at least $1,000 worth of someone's debit card. It has not been disclosed in the warrant as to who the victim is.
Yeah. Okay.
However, I'm guessing we're all going to say it's
Right.
probably
$1,000. I didn't hear $1,000.
And I apologize, guys. If y'all see me start to smile and laugh and chuckle a little bit, I'm reading y'all's comments in there. They can't see them, unfortunately, but I'm reading them, and they're kind of funny.
And we're just carrying the show while he's entertaining himself. But
Patrick says, accident, slip and fall, 10-8.
Well, we're going to get the Patrick style of law enforcement, too.
No report.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so unauthorized access, essentially, like John said, credit card fraud. But obviously, they're not going to do a murder warrant yet until they have enough probable cause in a
Well, I mean, they don't even
case
have.
here.
I mean, they haven't disclosed exactly what the. They said it was the manner of death was homicide,
Right.
but or the cause of death.
Yeah, cause of death.
But they haven't disclosed whether it was a gunshot wound, stabbing,
Right.
Just a blunt force trauma. That hasn't been disclosed. And one of the things, and we're probably going to get to this later, but I'll quick, even though 90% of us probably have a fairly good assumption that he's the person who did it, okay, there has to be evidence before you charge
Beyond a
him.
reasonable doubt, man.
And because
You gotta prove it in
You
court.
can only stand trial once.
exactly.
That's right.
And if you charge too early and speedy trial attaches,
Yep. 180 days.
they're going to turn around and say, prove it.
Right.
What's that called when you can only be charged once?
Double jeopardy.
There you go.
Fifth
We don't
Amendment,
want that
baby.
to come
Fifth
into play.
Amendment.
There's actually a movie out for that.
Oh, yeah, with
Double
what's her
jeopardy.
face?
Okay.
All right,
so-
so let's go into jurisdiction.
All right, so we're going to open up some discussion here now that everybody knows the background here. Now, one of the questions I had was, we have a hodgepodge of jurisdictions. So I've been out of law enforcement a while. John, you get a call. Unit 6, meet a lady regarding a, what's a missing,
Signal 8.
Signal 8. God, it's been a long time.
Well, that's only in a couple of counties around here.
Copy a name or address and go to this address regarding a Signal 8, and you get there and
Now, am I In New York?
Hey, you are in New York.
Okay,
Because
I'm in New York.
We're going to talk about this case. So Gabby's parents calls the Suffolk County Police Department and says, my daughter's missing. And the question is she missing from Suffolk County? Is she missing from Wyoming? So as a patrol officer, how do you handle that situation?
Okay, well, first I want to give a disclaimer for all of this, okay, and that is the fact that we are police officers, or we are retired police officers from the state of Florida. So we do not know all the laws in the various states that this involves.
And procedures.
Yeah. So we're going to give you our input as Florida law enforcement officers, familiar with Florida. We tried to look into some of the laws in the other states, but we haven't, we're not experts in that law. Okay, so
Cooper the Wonder Dog's back.
As a Florida officer responding to that call in New York, okay, it's one of the things, and down here we have some agencies that were great at passing the buck. Okay, so you're here in New York.
Stanford.
Your daughter lives in Florida.
Right.
But she was
Traveling
last
out
known to be wherever they last said she was. Maybe she texted from Wyoming or from Utah.
Yep.
Okay, so she was last seen in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you have
three different states.
You got
right.
3 states that are involved in this, and I'm the New York officer who's, hey, you got to call Utah. That's where she was last seen. So it's Utah's missing person.
Right.
Okay? That's how a lot of agencies handle it. I will say the agency I worked for was big on, we'll say, customer service. Okay? Where, no, you're not going to be sending people all over the place, because how in the world are they going to report a missing person to Utah police?
Right.
Okay, they don't even know what jurisdiction in Utah to report it.
Mm-hmm.
So they call the Utah police, and
Utah PD.
yeah, Utah PD. What can we do? Well, can you send an officer to Blue Point, New York? Hell no.
Right.
So eventually, what's going to happen anyway is wherever you report it, they're going to say, contact this agency.
So what is the best option?
So what the responding officer should have done there, in my opinion, not knowing New York law, is, although it sounds like they did contact at least Northport Police,
Yeah.
but take the initial information report. Take the report, okay? Again, it's just an information. That's one of the things we were discussing before the show. You're only taking information.
But you know, from
all this other
the
stuff.
parents know that the fiance showed up in Florida without their daughter and in her car.
Absolutely. So I mean, it's not just a missing person. However,
Because we talked about this earlier too, it's not illegal for an adult to just drive off.
right, and many times I did respond to a lot of calls where, hey, my 18-year-old son who just started college, he went out to the club last night with his girlfriend and he's not home. I want to report her missing. Okay, well,
No.
it's not no,
Right, I know.
but it's like, he's allowed not to come home.
Right.
There's no law that says you
He's
have
an
to come
adult
home.
now.
He's an adult. Yeah, but he knows he shouldn't do that.
Right.
Okay.
So what we used to do was we would take a courtesy report
Mm-hmm.
for the other agency,
Okay.
and we would do the report, and then we would forward the report either by fax or by internet or whatever.
Yeah. Would you put it in the
Email.
system? Would you put her
No, we
information
would
in the
allow
system?
them to do that.
Okay.
And now, because then we have a signed affidavit,
Okay.
Right.
which kind of
Covers everyone's butt.
gives
It's a
you
sworn
a break
statement,
when
right.
they want to sue you
Yep.
for grabbing her or
Yep.
for him or
Yep.
whatever. And then we would just forward everything to that agency, and that agency would start the investigation. And then they would call us and say, hey, we need some help with the investigation because we're out here, you're over here, they lived here, can you help us on that end? We'll help you on this end. And it's kind of a, and once investigators start talking to each other and investigative unit commanders start talking to each other, it goes pretty smooth.
Yes.
It's just the initial getting it rolling.
So Suffolk County, most likely, if they did everything right, most likely contacted Northport Police Department, said, hey, we have this missing person, because that's where she lived.
Right.
and said, "Hey, mom has reported her missing."
No, what,
And at that time, North Point goes to court. God,
well,
goes to the house.
right. So before the reports even generated or started, more than likely, okay, where does she live? Lives in Northport, Florida. Okay, I'm going to have dispatch request Northport Police go to the address
Right.
and say, hey, is Gabby here?
And Joey said, look up the Jennifer Kessie rule.
Okay.
Which is something similar to
Okay.
that where,
You know,
you know,
so
Okay, interesting. Okay.
so you're gonna at least go attempt to contact.
Right.
Okay, so Northport Police knock on the door. You know, is Gabby here? Nope, she's not here. You know where she is? Nope.
What about Brian?
You know where Brian's at?
Here's his attorney.
Here's his attorney. Okay, fine. Now I'm Northport Police saying, oh wow, this really sucks.
Yep.
Thank God you're up in Suffolk County, and I'm calling Suffolk County saying,
This is what we got.
this is what we got. We can't find her. No one will tell us where she is. Suffolk County's going to say, oh shit,
Right.
let's start this report. Let's take the information report. And then as patrol, this is one of the wonderful things about patrol.
You pass it on to us.
Well, you get your blessing from your supervisors, which Ryan is going to say, you know, hey, whatever you're going to do to cover
Dominus Somnus, move
You know,
it on.
okay? Here you go, investigations.
Right.
Now your problem.
Yeah. So I'm wondering which agency contacted the FBI.
Well,
Maybe they just did it in
when
conjunction.
it started going across, you know, different state lines,
And
all
everything
that,
was kind of
and
looking
then the
real.
shit blew up in the news and everything
Right.
else.
Everything was real suspect, and you're like, okay, we need
If
to.
I was the agent in charge of the local FBI headquarters, I would have said, get a hold of North Point. Now you got me saying it.
Northport, Florida.
Get a hold of Northport and say, we're here to help. If it's crossing state lines, we're involved.
Yeah.
You know, here, blah, blah, blah.
Because getting back to the Smokey and the Bandit question,
Just smoking the bandit question.
from our first episode,
We got to pop in all the way from Virginia,
What?
from Neil, and I don't know where Patrick is living now. He is still in Michigan?
Michigan? Probably.
Michigan. We got a Michigander in here.
so
Woohoo!
anyway, no, I forgot my point.
It's Northport.
Northport. All right. Well, yeah, we know that. Okay, moving on.
All right. So now we understand this, but it's funny. I see a lot of news. I see a lot of people saying, "Man, why is he allowed to not talk to the cops? Why is he allowed to, not say anything?"
Constitutional right.
Absolutely.
Why can his parents get away with it?
Because
they have the
nobody-
same rights.
Constitutional right.
Right. So just so you know, the Fifth Amendment, there's like 5 clauses in the Fifth Amendment. One we're mostly referring to, not eminent domain or double jeopardy, but we're referring to the protection against self-incrimination. You do not have to talk to the cops. Hey, we want to talk to you about this case. No. Thank you. So that's...
Does it make you look guilty as hell? Sometimes. Hell yeah, it does.
Now, I would be
And
interested...
in this case, hell yeah, it does.
I would be interested to find out if he contacted the attorney on the way back.
Oh no, he contacted Mama and Daddy,
Yeah.
and he told Mommy and Daddy what happened, or that hey,
What happened was
something bad happened, and
Let's
we
get an
may
attorney.
want to contact Joe Bob the attorney because this is getting ugly. And Mommy and Daddy contacted Joe Bob the attorney and said, and Joe Bob the attorney, because I don't know what the hell his name is.
Dewey Cheatham and Howe. The office of Dewey Cheatham and Howe.
Dewey Cheatham and Howe. And he said, you don't say a freaking word to nobody about nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
and we kind of talked about this a little bit too. He may have gotten himself into a little trouble.
Yeah, so-
in my opinion, and I don't know exactly what happened, and a lot of this depends on the facts as they come
Hey,
out.
we're allowed to speculate like hell on our podcast.
Okay, but
Oh yeah, we are.
if the premise that I suggested earlier, that he went away camping with Mommy and Daddy and never came back, so he was
Yeah,
gone.
what's up with that?
Well,
I mean, his freaking girlfriend, his fiance's missing,
Right.
And he just goes on a freaking camping trip
with Mom and Dad.
What would you?
Get
What
the
would you
hell out of
do?
here. Oh yeah, I would just go up camping. I mean,
So anyway,
Jesus.
so then on September 17th, Laundrie family reports Brian missing. Okay, now it was the attorney who called law enforcement and said they wanted to, said the police wanted to talk to them about Brian. I don't know the exact word. I don't have a transcript of the call.
Right, yeah.
But he facilitated that contact with the parents and law enforcement.
Okay.
Okay. He initiated the contact. He was present during the reporting process.
Right.
Okay. If Brian is not missing, but actually fled town,
Hiding or on the run.
okay, and that attorney was aware of that fact, now he is complicit in a false police report being filed. Misleading the court.
Unless he didn't know where he was.
Well,
and he's parsing words. He could say, "I don't know where he is."
No. It's not, I don't know where he was. I am facilitating these people to file a false police report. Okay? I'm not saying I have to tell you where he is, but they're filing a false police report.
Maybe they don't know where he is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they know that he's not missing, he's hiding, and the attorney was aware that he's hiding,
Shame on him.
well, guess what? Now he's complicit in a crime, in a conspiracy to file a false police report.
Right. But so we were talking about this, does an attorney have the obligation to make access to their client to law enforcement?
Absolutely not.
No, right? I don't think so.
Unless there's a warrant.
Unless there's a warrant.
Okay?
But now there's a warrant. Now I'm wondering, when I heard there was a warrant, I'm wondering if that was to force the attorney to bring him forward.
Potentially, or just the fact that, we have how many law enforcement agencies out searching for this guy?
Dozens.
Okay, and how much money is being spent trying to find him? And guess what? We find him and say, "Glad to know you're okay, Brian." They don't have they didn't
finish this in a
have
minute.
probable
I
cause
just don't
or
wanna
a
mix.
warrant to
No.
arrest him.
When you're done.
So when they found him, what did
Right.
he do then?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You don't have any reason to hold him.
No.
So now we do.
No. Okay. You know what the FBI also has, and I didn't know this. They have what's called a material witness warrant.
Oh, those are fun.
So they technically could have gotten a material witness warrant on him, but they had actual charges. That's a better
Right.
stick.
And the actual charges are the fact that now they have a time of death, not a precise time, but they
Right,
have
but a rough
date.
right. I'm sure they
So-
have cell tower information.
Well, what they can do is they can say that Gabby Petito was dead between August 31st and September 2nd.
Yes.
Okay? We can scientifically prove she was dead at that point.
Right.
Any debit transaction after September 2nd was fraudulent
Yes.
because apparently he wasn't on the bank account.
She ain't making it.
He was not on the account.
Right.
Had he been on the account, they wouldn't have that charge.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not trying to tell people, hey, before you kill your wife, your girlfriend,
empty an account.
well, get on her account. But
So yeah, I think it's interesting about the attorney. We know that they don't have an obligation to they could actually hide their client if they. I think I'm not an attorney. I'm wondering if they could actually put up a client and then say I'm not obligated to say anything. Well, that's
All right, so we
to me-
getting into the investigation now?
No, we're getting into the investigation. So let's go back to the Moab Police Department.
now the fun begins.
The fun begins. So Moab, we talked about, got a 911 call saying that a guy was slapping. Oh, we're good then.
Yeah.
Slapping a lady around and pushed him into a van. Blah blah blah. We talked about that, and we discussed how she admitted to slapping him, scratching him, hitting him with the phone. He said that he has the marks on him. I mean, I remember,
And they showed.
and I remember arresting plenty of women for domestic violence.
Absolutely.
Women commit domestic violence, not on the same level, but they sure do. And so, all right, John, given everything, I know you didn't watch the video, given everything.
Actually, I did watch the video.
Oh, you did?
Guys,
I did.
I'm gonna keep discussing. This show's going on for a little bit. I'm running out here to grab us some ice.
Oh, yes,
I'll
definitely.
be right back.
So, John, you did see the video. Okay.
I did.
Would you have arrested her?
Well, here's a couple of points that I think may need to be brought out.
If
Okay.
let's put this, let's put it in Florida, and then we'll talk about Utah's law.
Okay. Now, I did look into Utah's laws. Okay. And again, they have that notice to appear.
Right. Which is weird.
Okay.
For
It
domestic
is.
violence.
It is. However, as long you got to keep in mind when we respond to domestic violence calls, as patrol officers, our primary responsibility, and I know we're going to get a lot of blowback on this one, but our primary responsibility is to resolve that acute problem right there.
The current conflict.
The current situation.
Yeah.
Okay? And previously, years ago, before we had a lot of domestic violence laws and mandatory arrest laws, okay, cops were trying to do that and saying, hey, let's take you, you got somewhere you can go tonight, I'll give you a ride, and we're all good. That wasn't working.
Because the husbands were coming home, still drunk, still angry, and killing their wives.
Right. So now we have progressed very far.
We started pretty
Okay.
much in the 80s?
So now
Yeah.
we have
Late 80s.
mandatory arrest laws most places.
If there is
Probable
probable cause
Okay.
of a crime,
Correct.
we make an
And
arrest.
Yes.
Utah does have a mandatory arrest law. However, it does allow for a citation or notice to appear. Okay, but a citation is essentially the same thing.
Can I stop you right there and tell a little
Yes.
story? I had I know the state attorney never liked mutual combat, but I had a situation where the lady, it's like 3:00 in the morning, they have a 2-year-old kid. The lady pulled the hair, like chunks out of the hair, and he punched her. I mean, it was total mutual combat. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I got a guy, I got a girl that they both should go to jail. And then I got a 2-year-old kid. I'm like, I don't want to sit till noon waiting for DCF. So I took him to jail, gave him a notice to appear, and went about took him to jail, her a notice to appear. They were both arrested. They were separated for the night.
See, in that case, that was an acceptable resolution to that call,
Right.
and you have to justify what you did. Okay. One of the things is patrol responds to incidents occurring at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We don't have the time to do, and they spent over an hour and 17 minutes.
Hour 17
with
minutes.
them.
Yes.
Okay, but they can't dig totally into the entire thing of their relationship.
No.
That is why I know in Florida and many states have something similar where you have domestic violence counselors, the state attorney requires certain things happen, and all that. Because domestic violence is such a innate problem that it can't be solved by a patrol officer showing up and making one arrest.
That's a Band-Aid.
Okay, exactly. So
back to what you would have done.
if I was one of those officers and I had the opportunity, not opportunity, but I had at my disposal one of the options of issuing a notice to appear, all the evidence based on what I saw on the body cam video. Okay, and I'm not talking about, well, you should have read this body language and that's great to look at later.
Right. That's armchair
We can
quarterback
only
stuff.
go with the evidence that is presented at scene.
Right.
We talked about it earlier. Well, the 911 caller said he was slapping her. Okay, well, the officer apparently spoke to him. And when said, when confronted, well, could it have been this? Because what the officer is saying is, 911 caller is telling me one thing, all the evidence is telling me something else.
Right.
Okay? I was a traffic homicide investigator. Someone can tell me this is what happened.
But the evidence shows.
But the evidence shows that's not what happened.
Witnesses are.
I was doing 35.
My 15 years in investigation, witnesses are notoriously bad witnesses.
Right. Okay? So,
100%.
like I said, the evidence said she hit him or scratched him and did that. She admitted it. He stated that's all that occurred. He did admit to grabbing her face, but it was more to keep her away from, get away from me, go, I want to separate. Okay, so that was not an attack, and it was actually a defensive move.
Right.
Okay, so if I was the officer that responded there, I would have charged her, probably issued a citation because I had the opportunity to separate, and whether the officer led him to, hey, tomorrow you can come down to the police department and get a waiver for this temporary restraining order, or whatever they call it in Utah. But we all know he wasn't going to do that.
No, yeah, he was going to do that.
He was going to bond her out.
Yes.
Okay, if she got arrested and actually went to jail.
Right.
Okay. Now, the ultimate thing we have to consider, and everyone is all pissed off at the police department for not doing what they should have done, it wouldn't have changed a damn thing that happened, in my opinion.
I'm with you.
Because if she went to jail or she got a notice to appear, they would have gotten back together. They would have still been in the same van.
They're on a road trip.
Exactly. She had no one to go.
Right.
Now, if it was as bad as everyone says, well, Brian was so controlling, Brian did all this, she could have told her parents 100 times prior. Never did. What makes you think her being arrested was going to, now I'm going to call my parents and tell them, Brian's really bad guy.
So you're saying notice to appear.
Notice to appear.
Separate overnight.
Separate them.
On the right.
And that complies with Utah law as far as I understand it. Again, I'm not a Utah officer.
You don't work for Utah
PD? I
PD?
don't work for Utah PD, so I don't want to, say that I'm an expert in that.
Ronnie, you disagree.
Oh, you mean I get to talk?
Yes.
Oh,
You're on, man.
I don't want to interrupt anybody. All right, so
Someone's got their panties on.
I have a question here from Ian. Ian says they can, it's a statement more than a question. They can bring him in and he can walk out because they have no official proof, meaning they haven't charged him. So they can bring him in.
You talking about for the DV or for the...
I'm talking about Brian. They can bring him in to question him.
Yeah.
But, he can just say, I'm not talking to you.
And they don't have to go with him.
Exactly.
Right. So, I love watching, what is it, all the Law and Orders. Hey, you need to come with us downtown. No, I don't. Am I under arrest?
Question is, why didn't the police watch his house after they visited the first time so he couldn't leave? I absolutely 1000% agree.
Well, I don't know if they knew the totality of the circumstances at that time.
If this girl went missing and he showed up with her van and he's there at the house, you mean to tell me you wouldn't have been going,
can I ask you a question?
Bing!
Hold on a second.
What the hell's up with that?
No, before we get to that, let me ask you one question. How do we know they didn't? I've already said I don't think he was there since before she was reported missing.
Oh, so you're saying he went missing even before they reported her missing?
I'm saying he was already on the lam
before Mom reported her missing.
Right.
So there wouldn't.
When he went camping, he never came home.
And they could have sat on the house.
They could have been. Yeah, they could have been sitting on the house.
So now, who would sit on the house? Investigations.
Absolutely.
If patrol or patrol sergeant doesn't say forward it to investigations doesn't have anything to work.
Yeah.
So they just knock on the door. There's no case yet. So we don't know. We're speculating. Ronnie, would you have arrested her?
Yeah, I didn't get to all my questions here.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
I'm trying
Oh,
to,
sorry.
I'm trying
No,
to
I
involve these
appreciate
guys.
that.
Okay. Yeah.
It says, what was the other one? I'm sorry. It
This
says,
guy,
John,
right?
you were assuming. Oh my God, where did it go? Jesus.
Oh, John, assuming.
John, you were assuming we all know what that means. Maybe she would have met someone before she bailed out, and they convinced her to call her parents for help.
Oh, absolutely. What I'm
There's
saying
a lot of
is,
speculation going on.
there is absolutely nothing. I am making assumptions. We are all making assumptions because, number one, we also don't have access to all the information that those involved in the investigation do.
Not whatsoever.
What
None
I'm
whatsoever.
saying is, my assumption is, based on what I saw, that had they physically arrested her and taken her to the Utah jail,
Utah
Okay.
PD jail.
Utah PD jail, okay, he would have, and believe me, I've seen this a ton, where the victim for DV goes down and bails him out, okay, and they're back together. I mean,
All right, Vicky brings up a good point. She says not that she would tell them of the abuse, but she might have called for help with jail. And this is my point.
and I agree that's possible. I'm making an assumption. We can't.
Here's my point.
LT,
I
lay it
would
down,
have
lay it
made an
down.
arrest.
Now, would you have?
I would have
Obviously, those officers, Moab PD has a supervisor. Would you have told that officer you need to make an arrest? Because I don't know if did the sergeant come out there?
I don't know, but I would have told the officer, whoever it was in charge there, I would have said,
The primary, yeah.
got all the information, and listened to all the stories and all that, and I would have said, arrest her for domestic violence.
Right.
Take her to jail. And here's my contention on that.
Okay.
If they would have arrested her for domestic violence, at least in the state of Florida, she would have had no bond
Until
she saw a judge.
First appearance, right.
Correct.
Would the judge have given her a bond? Maybe, probably. Who knows? I don't know.
Right.
But I can tell you with a 95% certainty that at that point, if she would have been arrested and put in jail, she would have called mommy or daddy and said, I'm in jail, I don't know what to do, can you come and help me, or can you tell me what to do? Mommy and daddy at that point, and this is all speculation, of course, just like everything else, mommy and daddy, of course, at that point would have known, number one, where she is, number two, that she's in jail, number three, maybe called an attorney or got on a goddamn plane and flew out there to get baby out of jail.
Right.
Would she have made it home? My speculation only is that if those things would have happened, I believe in my heart, I'm probably wrong, I could be wrong, that she would have came home with mommy and daddy, and we would be talking to her. We wouldn't even hear about this.
But
case.
her van would be there. She's going to trust
Okay,
this
then
guy.
she would have drove home with mommy
Okay.
in the van and rode home with mommy
and left her
rode
fiance
with daddy.
and left her fiance in Moab.
Daddy could have rode home with them,
Okay.
with both of them, and I don't know what Dad looks like. Looks like a pretty stout fellow to me.
I can tell you that all three of us, if our daughters called us with that situation, we would have been on the plane.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And he seems like it's a father, a stepfather, right?
Stepfather lives here. No, Dad lives here. Stepfather lives in New York. I think that's
Now,
Am I
So
right
I
on
think
that?
that they would have got on the phone or got on the plane, and they would have rode out there, and they would have done the right thing and brought her home, or waited until the judge issued bond or whatever, figured out what they can do, what the stipulations of the bond are. Could have been she can't leave the state. If that's the case, guess what? We're finding a hotel. I mean,
Well,
I
she's
agree.
got a
Can't
van to
leave the
live
state,
in.
you
She's
know?
been doing it.
but
There
like
you
I
go.
said, I made an assumption that this is what would have happened. You're making an assumption that
Absolutely.
that would have happened. Neither one of us know because it didn't happen.
So I can
wanna-
tell you this.
Okay.
as an administrator from a police agency
Mm-hmm.
and as a supervisor for over 22 years,
Mm-hmm.
it is always in domestic violence cases, it is always best to err on the side of an arrest and get that person completely away from the situation at the county jail. If you have the probable cause, of course.
Absolutely.
Of course, obviously.
Get them out of the situation, get them in the county jail, get them over there, and let the courts then work on whatever we need. Now she has a 12-hour period or whatever to pack up all her shit and get the hell out of Dodge as she's being in, I know this is not the situation here. They're in a different state, everything else.
Right.
But
Loot in the van together, and I mean,
Now-
that's just my opinion only. As a supervisor and as a cop of over 35 years, I would have arrested her without even second thoughts. I would have had my guys arrested.
So, like I said, we have not had the option to issue a notice to appear.
I wouldn't issue notice.
I understand. I agree.
Well, you said you would.
I would have. I'm
Yeah,
saying
in Utah.
In Utah.
Well, I don't know.
because-
Were you here when I talked about
Whether we had the
the
option
one
or not, I
time?
wouldn't
The
have.
one time that I did issue a notice to appear for domestic violence. There was a mutual combat, but there was a two-year-old kid involved. I didn't want to get
Now,
DCF.
one
A
thing,
little different story.
and one thing in the body cam video, okay, it's towards the end, and this is where the officer actually made the decision not
Mm-hmm.
to make the arrest,
Yep.
okay, because
At the very end.
it depends on the verbiage of the statute,
Right.
okay, and again, I'm not a Utah officer, however, I looked it up online, and I believe I copied this word for word. Assault, A, an attempt with unlawful force of violence to do bodily injury. Okay, so, and you can see there was a senior officer there who left.
The guy with the beard.
Yeah, the guy with
Yeah,
the beard,
right.
who said, your call. If you want to go with the letter of the law
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
and walk away, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If you want to go with the spirit of the law and make an arrest, I'm good with that too.
Yeah. He just, the way I saw it is he laid down both options.
Right.
Who did? I'm sorry.
There was I didn't know he was a senior
Well,
officer, but
I
it makes
assumed
sense.
it was
You know,
based on the way he
did.
was
Yeah.
saying it.
Yeah. There was an officer there at the very end who says, listen, this is your two options. This, A, arrest, B, not arrest, blah, blah, blah.
And there's the problem.
Well, exactly.
Right
Well,
there.
no, I understand that. However, the letter of the law says there has to be an intent to do
Neither
injury.
one was actually wrong according to the letter of the law. What
There
Tom
has to
said.
be an intent to commit the injury.
Okay. What's the problem with that?
Okay, well.
She scratched
so-
the shit out of his
oh,
face.
well, hold on. He went back, and this goes back to your leading questions, and it was wrong, but the letter of the law is the letter of the law. Okay? He went back and asked her, and he said, the answer to this question is very important as to how I handle this case.
Who's this?
The primary
The
officer.
primary officer
Asking who?
asking Gabby.
Her, Gabby.
Okay.
Okay, keep in mind, there has to be an intent to cause injury per statute. Why were you striking him? I was just angry and okay, were you trying to hurt him? No. And I've had a case like
Okay.
no, I get
It's
well
a suspect you're talking to.
no, I
He's
know
making
that.
Tell
I
you
know
the truth every time?
no, I know that. What I'm saying is that gave him the out because the intent wasn't. Okay? I mean, I had
Only
a
on
case.
her point.
Well, I get that.
That's. I'm sorry.
But I went to a call one time. Lady calls 911.
Mm-hmm.
My husband, he's trashing the house. He's breaking things. I get him. Lights and sirens. We get there. Okay, I'm the first officer there. I get there. She's locked herself in the bathroom. Finally get in. Open it. He opens the door. She's in the bathroom. He's crashing stuff. Okay, Florida community property law.
No problem
Okay.
whatsoever.
So,
far.
I make contact with her. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. Did he hit you? Did he hurt you? No. Did he threaten you? No, he'd never hurt me. He'd never strike me. Okay. Then the sergeant at the time, now lieutenant, he shows up. He's like, okay, well, who's going to jail? I'm like, nobody. Like, what do you mean?
There's no crime.
I said, we don't have a crime here.
Right.
Like, oh,
no crime,
okay.
no
Okay,
cuffs.
because in Florida, assault is to put someone in fear.
Yep.
That
A threat by word or act,
by word or deed.
the ability to do so, and fear that it's going to happen.
Right. Okay. So there was no threat. She was never in fear. Did he do anything to put you in fear? No, he would never hurt me. How do I arrest someone on that?
You don't.
Okay. In this
It's
one,
a false arrest.
it says the intent to cause harm. Okay. Now, did I just commit battery?
I'm in great fear.
Well, no. In the state of Florida, I just committed
You
battery.
did.
If you wanted
Striking
to
or
press
touching
charges.
against my will.
Right.
That was against my will, John.
Exactly.
All right,
Okay.
let's move on.
All right.
So,
So now, I would have arrested her, taken her to jail for a completely different reason. I would have taken her to jail, put him in the abuse center for two reasons. Casey Dugard and Jeffrey Dahmer. You know why? Casey Dugard, the probation officers where she was kidnapped, went to her kidnapper's house for 18 years. Never checked the backyard. Never checked the backyard where she was for 18 years.
Yeah.
Never did their job.
no, and
Never did their full job. Jeffrey Dahmer, one of his kidnap victims was 13, escaped down the road, and the cops said, "Oh, we got this kid," and Dahmer said, "Oh yeah, we're lovers." Oh, okay. Sent him back to him, and he killed him. Because of these incidences, I never wanted to be that cop.
no,
Absolutely.
no, and I agree 100% on that one.
Never
But-
wanted to be that cop
Absolutely.
who didn't.
But one of the things is, we talked about it a little earlier, the DV thing, patrol responds to and addresses the acute problem right there. We all know that DV has so many underlying issues, and that is why the state attorneys and the court systems have to get involved in it.
Yeah.
LT,
No, I agree.
LT, as a supervisor, can you order somebody an officer to make an arrest?
No. I can.
If there is a clear crime
Absolutely.
with probable cause,
Absolutely.
clear probable cause, can you say, John, make this arrest? And John, if John's like, hey LT, I'm not going to make this
No
arrest.
problem. Then
John, you will make this
Then
arrest.
I'll make the arrest.
No.
And I'll charge him with insubordination.
No, what I'm saying, can you make him make the arrest?
No, I can't.
By the same token, I did
It's
have a
officer
sergeant.
discretion.
I did have a sergeant who ordered me an arrest, but it was not a valid arrest, and he told me, make the arrest. I
But
said,
it's-
that is perfectly fine. I will take him to the jail after you put handcuffs on him. I will transport him to jail. I will type up the entire report, and I will call you when I'm done with that report, and you can come down and sign your happy little ass on the...
If there was absolute PC,
PC
and everything
statement.
out, I would give him the order to make the arrest. And if he did not make the arrest, I would have another officer come and make that arrest, or I would make the arrest.
Right.
And then I would charge him for insubordination.
Transfer
Fail
the
to do
PD.
his
Right,
job.
Transfer the
Absolutely.
PC to another
as long as there was
Absolutely.
clear PC.
Yeah, obviously.
All right.
Yeah.
So the next thing is text received from mom. Did you get to that part?
No. But regarding domestic violence, it's weird how we think of things. I just realized that the two times that I was almost shot as a cop was during domestic violences with your dad.
Imagine that.
Not as a victim or a suspect.
No,
Just
as your
wanna
dad
clear
as the
that.
supervisor.
Just wanna clear that
just
up.
putting that out there.
All right. So what do the
Well,
cell
sensitive
towers?
about that.
What do the cell towers say?
We don't know.
And what we're going on there is the cell towers can be checked. Obviously, you need a warrant, but cell towers can be checked to see where the cell signal has pinged in different locations. Obviously, we don't know that information. I am sure that the FBI or one of the agencies has filed for that if they don't already have that and have checked that.
So I don't want to. I don't want to. Okay, I'm going to say it. I don't want to shit on the FBI too much, but I worked a case in Lake County. I don't know if you guys remember the Trenton Duckett case.
Oh, yeah.
So Trent Duckett went missing. Mom was the #1 suspect. One of the main issues with the FBI at that time is they should have been on a wiretap on her day one. But because FBI is so huge and bureaucratic, it took 2 weeks to go all the way up to DC to approve a wiretap. We could have been on the wiretap through the state in 2 days, 1 day. And then she ended up killing herself. It was a really tragic incident. So there are some issues with the FBI.
All right, we're in a minute, an hour 20, so we need to roll on through your little things here.
So a good investigation, just some of the things that I thought of. Obviously, the autopsy, the cell tower order is going to track all the pings from cell towers.
As long as he's got it on. As long as he has it on.
Now you were in narcotics. Well, this wasn't even.
It was before cell phones. No, really.
Close to it.
So well, we'll just move on. Credit card use, which obviously they have because they've made a warrant for that. Wiretap. They should be on wiretaps on his phone, her phone, parents' phone.
Phone records.
Yeah,
and just so you know, we're talking about this. This is what they're probably doing. They're not disclosing that they are. So please, I mean, I've seen them getting, why didn't they have this? Why didn't they do that? I'm sure they're doing most of
behind
this.
the scenes. We don't.
They're not going to disclose.
It's a 40-hour drive from Yosemite, but obviously they were coming from. Obviously, he was coming from Wyoming and not California.
I think
so
the
it is a
wind
little
was blowing
shorter.
Eastward too.
What?
The wind was blowing
Oh,
eastward.
absolutely.
So.
The text messages. Now, some vehicles have GPSs. I want
And check video equipment. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Check
because
video
obviously
equipment.
she's going to cut the good, the bad, the ugly out of it, or
Right, and I'm sure that her blogs and everything stopped, obviously, when she died. But how long before that did it stop? You know what I'm saying? I mean, did she have stuff on her phone? Where's her phone? Did they find her phone? We don't know yet. I mean, they could have found her phone, and they could have found. I don't know what she was using for her vlogs or blogs.
Yeah, some use a
phone,
some use a camera.
Right, it could have been, and if they find that, are they going to have information on that? I mean, these are all big things. I got a good question here from Joey. Joey says, LT question. If there is a PC and your officer chooses to file or NTA rather than custodial, can you force the custodial as you believe it is a better option? I say as long as the officer is making an arrest with any 3 option is the officer's choice. What say you? I say on a domestic violence case, this is my personal belief, on a domestic violence case, the person needs to be incarcerated in a facility at the county jail or whatever. They need to go to the county jail.
Utah jail.
Yeah.
Utah PD
and they
jail.
need to then either bond out or wait for bond or whatever. That's just my personal opinion. That is what I would have told the officer that he needed to do. And at that point he refused, I would have gotten another officer to transfer the PC and just made the arrest and taken him to the county jail. But that's just me.
But here's a good point, though,
Right.
referencing that. The temporary restraining order,
Right.
which
No
automatically
contact order. Right.
automatically goes into effect in Utah,
Yes.
does not automatically go into effect in Florida. A judge has to put that on. But
So it's not a nationwide order.
no.
Okay.
No, well,
But we are reciprocal.
right.
So
Okay.
they can just go ahead and transfer it to Florida and it becomes effective
But the point
once
is-
they approve it here.
Right.
You don't have to go to Florida, or you don't have to see the judge to get the temporary restraining
Just
order.
send it.
It's automatically in place.
Right.
Okay, so I'm assuming, and they are required to give their legal rights and remedies. Okay, and they probably have to tell the victim or the suspect, you cannot have contact. Okay, well we don't do that in Florida.
Right.
We don't tell them they can't have contact with the victim. That's the judge's job.
Right.
But that's because they have to appear before the judge.
Absolutely.
In Utah, they get it,
Right.
and that's one of the reasons why they. And like I said, each state has different laws and different statutes as to why they do that.
Now
All
I
right,
want
I'm no, go ahead.
Before we talk about, I want to talk about the cell phone pings for a minute. I've done plenty of these, and it's really neat. It's almost like a search warrant. You get this is how it was when I was. You get an order You get a judge to sign it.
Screw it, I'm dipping.
You send it to
me too.
the carrier, whether it's Verizon or whatever, and you call them. You say, hey, and this is more for like relative current tracking. You say, hey, where is this cell phone? And it will track that number and see which cell tower it's near. If it's, you know what, that's how we found a lot of suspects. Where is this cell phone? It is 700 yards southeast of tower number 65. And you pull it up, and it's like, oh, that's an apartment complex.
And guess what? They have screwed that all up now.
Why?
Unless the person called 911 from that cell phone,
Okay.
you cannot ping it without a warrant.
Or, well, with the state, we used to
be able
get,
to just do it all the time.
well, we used to not get a warrant, but it was a cell tower order.
Yeah.
It wasn't as full as a warrant. It had the basics.
We used to have dispatch call in and say, ping that cell phone and see where it's at, because they said they're going to commit suicide or whatever.
Yeah.
See if we can find them. And we would go right to them.
Mhm.
And it was great. But now, unless they call 911 from that phone, you have to get a court order
Yeah. To ping it.
call the tower, because most of the carriers now say, we can't do that unless you have a court order.
Yeah.
It's freaking ridiculous.
Now, you could do it in an emergency and then forward court order.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Because I remember working an officer-involved shooting. I think it was Daytona, where they tracked the guy and he had the girl held, and it was a big shooting and everything. So you were going to say something.
All right, I am going to post now
Something new.
Yes, something new that we've never done
So
before.
excited.
And we've lost a few viewers here. We're down to 16. We were up as high as 25 a minute ago. We're going to post in a call-in number, okay, where you can call in and talk to us live. Unfortunately, guys, I only have one line, and it's my cell phone that's hooked to a speaker.
First come, first serve?
First come, first serve. So get ready. We're going to post the number here in a second, and we're going to cut you off if we need to, but ask your question, make your comment. Please open up the line for somebody else, okay?
And don't say Baba Booey, Baba Booey.
I am not going to call anybody back, so you're just going to have to keep calling in, and if you don't get in, hang up, and as soon as you get ready to, whatever, just call back.
Hey, so, while
I'm posting the number.
While he's doing that, you know how we used to always arrest everybody for shoplifting?
Mm-hmm.
It was like,
That was a department.
department policy. If you were
Guess who
caught-
started that?
I don't know.
My dad.
Oh, yeah.
And he said it'll keep them shoplifters out of the frickin' city if they know they're going to go to jail.
So I thought it was great. So I remember Builder. I don't know if you were there when there was
Builder
Square.
Square?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
So I showed up to Builder Square, and they had caught a shoplifter. And I go in the back, la 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 la. 87 years old.
Mm-hmm.
87 years old. She stole whatever, and I'm like, Well, policy says I have to take you to jail. Well, I'm not going to do that. So I wrote her a notice to appear. We're talking about notices to appear. Because all I can imagine is walking her into the jail and all the other deputies and cops saying, hey, Long, did you put up a fight?
And what, did you take, like, batteries for remote control?
No, I
like
use
that?
stupid stuff.
That was me.
I think she was just
So
bored.
here's the question. While we're waiting for our first call, I figured somebody would call right in, but I guess not. Everybody's scared. Do you think he's dead or alive?
We didn't even cover it. Dead. He went out into woods somewhere way deep
And capped himself.
and gave himself a.
What do you think?
I agree.
So watching.
I don't get an
No.
opinion?
I meant to say this before.
Jesus.
Watching the video, I got a little bit of an insight into who he is. I think he killed her, maybe by accident, or maybe he lost control. He came back. He's like, oh shit, I need an attorney. And then he couldn't live with it, the guilt, and then bam.
All right. So for some reason, everybody's saying they can't see the number. It should be in the comments. I put it in the comments. But if you cannot see it, here it is. Write it down. It is 321 800-8384. 321-800-8384. Pretty easy to remember.
Can you see that all right?
No, you can't see it.
Never mind.
Caller number 1672 gets $1,000.
Hold on.
386.
321
Oh, sorry.
800-8384. 321-800-8384. That's the number.
First caller gets to talk to us.
It should be in the comments. I'm sorry if y'all couldn't see it. If you look at all the comments, it should be there. But
Anyway, what do you think? What do you think he is?
I think that he is... Okay, I'm going to go against you guys.
Okay.
I think that he is heading to Mexico. Somebody said in their comment that they thought that he was heading to Mexico. And here's our first caller.
Oh, Dave.
But they called my number.
Oh, that's
funny.
funny.
All right, here we go.
What's up, Dave?
Hey, Dave.
What do you
Hold
miss
on,
us?
let me make sure he's
You
on.
miss us already,
Make sure he's
Dave?
Hold on,
You gotta,
hold on,
come
hold
on.
on, hold on.
This guy, right?
Ronnie's not gonna. Isn't it on silent or?
Call from
Hold on.
Oh, Joey's
to
calling.
accept
Dave,
press
are-
1 to send a vo-
Oh.
Oh, I can't believe I missed that.
You
I'm
know
an
what?
idiot.
You know what?
Hold on.
LT's our boss. Okay.
I know.
Well,
I'm
he
an
used to
idiot.
be.
So
Not the boss of me
you know what? Sean, he was our guest from the other day. He thinks that the stepdad did him in, or was it the dad? Sean, was it the dad or the stepdad? I forgot what you said. Did him in and did
Okay, hold on.
Did a little Barry in
I'm calling Dave back.
Oh my God.
Here he is.
Dave, you can't get enough of us or what?
For some reason, it's not coming over the audio guy. I'm sorry.
No,
I think we're having audio problems.
I'm having LT problems.
I
Anyway.
told you he wasn't around when cell phones were.
So,
No.
so whether he did himself in or a family member did him in, this side of the table thinks.
All right, here we go. I'm calling him back.
I think we got it now.
Hello.
Hey,
Is
Dave.
this Dave?
Dave's
Yeah.
not here.
Hey, what? You can't get enough of us or what?
No, I tried to call through, but nobody was answering the phone. I guess you guys are too busy talking to each other than to talk to your guests.
Probably.
Yeah.
We were trying to, but for some reason the audio wasn't right. All right, what's your question or comment, real quick?
Well, my question, well, I don't really have a question. My comment is, good job on the show. And I agree with you, Ronnie. I would have put her in jail and would have ordered anybody who was there to put her in jail if they didn't. I would have had somebody else do it, just like you said, and wrote the other person up for not doing it. Because in the end, you're right. She would have been alive. At least I think so.
Hey, Dave,
That's my 2 cents.
Dave, in your agency, could you order another officer if you were the sergeant to make an arrest?
It depends. If there was a legitimate crime that had taken place and the officer was being derelict in his duties and not doing it, of course you can. But if it's like for a traffic ticket, you can't make somebody write a ticket. You can't really do that. But
Well,
if
yeah.
it's for a legitimate crime and they're not doing their job, yes, you can certainly do that.
I agree, 100%.
I agree.
All right, thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
Yep,
Dave.
take care. Tuck in your nuts out of the black shorts.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to make a
Hey,
comment.
wait, put in the comments, is Ronnie's nuts showing in his black shorts?
No, they're
or-
not. All right, I'm calling Joey Lascelles. Hang on.
I know we're talking to a lot of Florida officers
Right.
who spent most of their career, as far as I know, in Florida. So that's their mindset.
Yes.
The Utah
Joey!
PD is a little different.
We need to talk to
Hold on,
somebody.
Joey's here.
I know.
Hey, Joey!
Joey! Who's? I don't know.
Joey, you there?
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you guys need to finish up what you were saying about the last caller real quick, or?
No,
we're
no,
good.
no,
Go
we're
ahead,
good.
You're on. You're on the air.
Okay, so I kind of have mixed feelings on it. Looking at it from a patrol standpoint, 12 years on the job, working for 10 years at a little bit larger of an agency, and I'm gonna try and explain both sides as quick as possible. Is that okay?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, So as a lazy patrol cop who goes to these things, I have 68 domestic violence arrests. The state attorney has thrown out every single one of my domestic violence arrests, says that the victim's not willing to cooperate, or there's not enough PC, which obviously there was, but not enough proof beyond reasonable doubt to try the case, yada, yada. You get every excuse in the world, so you sometimes lose confidence with the system. But the other part of that is, and Ronnie, you and I talked about it the other day, and it's kind of like when you're in patrol, you have a little bit of a different perspective. It's kind of like writing the dump truck driver a ticket and getting his CDL license suspended, or getting him fired from his job. Whereas you pull over the 30-year-old guy who's driving to his regular job and give him a ticket, he's not going to lose his job. He's just going to get a $200 ticket. And so sometimes you try to, work things out for people. But having worked for an agency where they will fry you for not doing your job correctly, I err on the side of caution, as you said, especially with domestic violence. I have made so many arrests that I did not want to take the alleged suspect to jail. There was weak probable cause, and what it came down to, my decision wasn't what was morally right or what was in policy. It was what's going to keep my job and what's going to keep my agency from getting sued. And I don't know that that's always the right way to go, but that's what this world has come to.
It really has, absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Hey, Joey, this is Camille. I think you hit on an interesting point. You know what I used to tell all of my trainees when I was FTO? I said, never, ever, ever let the state attorney's office decisions affect your decisions. Because I've made a zillion arrests and they've thrown out, this, that, and then people get crap. You can, if you allow the state attorney to affect your law enforcement ability, you are going to diminish your effectiveness as a police officer.
Well, and like I was saying earlier, domestic violence is we respond for an acute issue. It's a long-standing chronic issue that the entire court system has to be a part of.
Yeah.
We can only solve the one problem right there at that point. That's why they have to, in Florida, you have to go to the state attorney and all that stuff. It's important because they have to get involved.
But we just cannot, as a patrol officer, we cannot focus so much on the state attorney that I'm like, are they gonna take this case, or are they gonna drop this case?
I'm not gonna worry about that.
Ignore the state attorneys. You do your job.
Absolutely.
You do you.
Absolutely. But does the state attorney do their job? Do the courts
that's
do
on
their
them.
job?
Well, Joey, thank you, buddy, for calling in. I hope we answered some of your questions.
And Joey,
or comment.
can you do me a favor? Can you pick up the signs when you see them? I really appreciate that.
The yard sale signs he's talking about.
There's yard sale signs posted in.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we actually, code enforcement over here will actually issue them notices to appear, and the police can actually arrest them for putting those signs out, and they do it under littering. So,
oh my God, dude!
You can actually put them in jail.
Oh my God, that's freaking crazy.
Now our agency weren't we?
All right, thanks a lot, Joey.
Thanks,
We're gonna
Joey.
clear the line.
Appreciate you, brother, man.
Weren't we required to ask if they had a permit for a garage sale? For garage sale?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sort of.
We could
But
ask
then,
them.
but they would never issue set permits.
Yeah.
Guys, the number 321-800-8384. We're going to end the show here in a minute.
Well,
unless we get another
we're
call.
going to go another hour because I'm going to bring up a point
Okay.
that we need to think about.
No, we're not going an hour.
No. Okay.
Marathon.
We're all talking about should she have been arrested? What would have happened had they went to arrest her and she resisted, and they had to use force and put her on the ground? Then keep in mind the police would have used excessive force for some scratches. Think about that. No, I'm just saying.
So I think
think about that.
She was very compliant.
So Sean says,
Our Sean?
yeah, our Sean from the show the other day says Gabby's dad did him.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was saying. I read your post. And you know what, Sean? You didn't hear. I was talking about you. We were talking about doing the right thing. And I remember you telling me that there was a missing persons case, and it was an adult, and you said to your guys, we're gonna work it, because they're like, it's just an adult, and then you said, no, we're gonna work it like it's a crime, and then they went out and the guy was all chopped up and shit. So
Yeah.
Well,
we've got to do our job.
And I will tell you, in law enforcement, you have got to always consider that you could be that PD. You could be that officer whose body cam is being shown not doing what you should have
Now,
done.
you mentioned something earlier on our text a couple of days ago about how you thought it
Taylor
was
or
just
Curtis?
one of those things where they're just traveling through, just get them on their way.
You're right, I did, and I'm glad you said that, because I forgot. And I'm not saying this is the officer's case, or this is what happened.
But we've been known to hear it.
But what I've heard in the past, and this is long ago, was, okay, these two are from frickin' Florida or from New York. They're all the way out here in Utah. There really isn't a whole lot of violence here. They seem concerned about each other and all that. They're going to be gone tomorrow, out the door, or out of the state. See you later. Bye-bye.
Hasta la bye-bye.
We're gone. Bye-bye. Is that the case here? I don't know. It could have been. It could not have been. I'm just saying, I've seen it in the past where you're out of state, you're going to be gone. Oh, where are you heading? Oh, we're heading back to Florida. When are you leaving? Oh, as soon as we leave here, that's where we were heading. We're out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody else's jurisdiction.
Not my problem.
Somebody else's problem.
No, I
I'm
get
not
it.
saying that happened here.
We've
but-
worked with plenty. I had two on my shift that they worked. You know them. I'm not going to say names, but there were plenty of officers that worked harder to get out of a report than it would have been to just take the report.
Chris told me one time, he said, I will never, ever work overtime for a certain sergeant named John ever again.
Not this John. I never made sergeant.
I know the John.
So,
He
not
said,
this
I will
John.
never work for him again. And I said, why? What the hell? He said, I need the money. I need the overtime, but I will never work for that SOB ever again. And I said, why? God rest his soul. He's gone now. He goes, because I was out here writing tickets and I took somebody to jail, and he said, you are not doing me or the shift or the citizens any good being at that jail, booking somebody in jail, or sitting on a traffic stop. Stop.
Mm-hmm.
I want you in the neighborhoods and in the businesses doing your patrols in those areas. Stop this traffic stop and this arrest BS.
And
I'm like, are you effing kidding me?
that same sergeant was
He refused to work for him.
That was my first sergeant out of training. Thanks.
my problem.
Oh, no, I know. But
So do you want to give the number again while John's talking?
I did.
Okay.
Thanks.
and he actually told me we were working night shift. He said, I don't want you making traffic stops.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Why do we have lights and siren?
Well, like I said, I was just out of training. I so wish I had a little bit of time, because I would have been getting on the radio, calling, the county agency who has concurrent jurisdiction with us,
yeah.
to say, hey, this violation is occurring in the city of Lake Mary. Can you send a unit to stop it? Because literally 10 o'clock at night, I stop a guy for driving without headlights. 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it might be dark.
Right.
As soon as I clear the traffic stop, he tells me on the radio, I told you not to do any traffic. I'm like, seriously?
It was a safety issue. He didn't have his lights on.
But
As
I'm
a
a brand
new
new
guy,
officer.
right, yeah,
I'm
no,
a
I
brand
get it.
new officer.
10 forcer.
But, 10 years in, I'm calling and saying, hey, call the county and let them know there's a guy right
Yeah.
in the middle of our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
that sergeant was also an investigator. Guess how many arrests he made in a year?
0.
Less than 10.
The chances that Brian
Fewer-
Laundrie is not responsible for Gabby's death.
Fewer
0.
than 10. I'm like, dude, how are you not making arrests? Not all cases are solvable. Got some good cases here, though.
Right.
Yeah. No doubt.
Unbelievable.
I don't know. But
What-
you know what? There's those type of cops in every agency, and they're still there, and they'll still continue to be there as long as we have supervisors that refuse to freaking hold them accountable for doing their damn job.
So
I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and the thing is, an officer in my day, and maybe it's just me, or most officers, we want to get into shit.
oh yeah.
We want to do stuff. I can't stand sitting around for 12 hours doing nothing.
I know.
Give me some shit to do.
The wind
There's
is
the
blowing.
number.
Give me
Guys,
some
there's the
stuff to
number.
do. Give me a fight. Give me a traffic stop where there's dope. Give me a DUI.
Yeah.
Shit.
321
I want to
800
get into some shit.
321 800 8384. 321 800 8384. All right, we're
We're
going to
going to be on for another, 5 minutes and then
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
So we're going to wind it down here.
we know we've been on a little long, but this was a unique episode and it's an interesting case. And
I've got a cigar waiting on me, so we're going to be cutting this short here pretty soon. So listen, make sure we have a podcast now. It is on Spotify.
Apple.
It is on Apple Podcast, and it's Surviving the Badge on both of those venues.
Anchor.
It's through Anchor, but we have it on several other different venues. We also are on
YouTube.
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We will post this video on YouTube here coming up probably in the next 2 or 3 days. It will be up on YouTube. If you like the intro there where we did the siren at the beginning, let us know. I'm trying to kind of work on some graphics and this and that. But don't forget, our merch is in. As you can see, this is the t-shirt. This thing is comfortable as hell, man. I love it.
It looks
But
great,
it comes
dude.
in various colors. The back has the big logo on the back, and it says Surviving the Badge. Still got your 6.
Who came up with that?
So if you want to send us an email, like for suggestions, it's like, hey, you know what, I want you guys to cover this, or hey, what do you guys think about this, or just shoot us an email saying, hey, you guys suck, whatever. It is retired cops rule, because we do. retiredcopsrule@gmail.com. So send us an email. Let us know how we're
And
doing. Let us
If
how
you
we're
would rather
sucking.
me be in the front seat again,
Yeah.
send us an
Absolutely.
email.
Yeah.
Patrick says my shirt looks like a tent. Hey, Patrick. Yeah. Anyway, so listen.
The entire state of, I believe it's Alabama, has a lot of cotton. They depleted their cotton supply to make that shirt.
Wow.
Yeah, and Trey says, speaking of cotton, I don't know why I said cotton. Trey says that, hey, Ronnie, what brand of chairs are those? They should sponsor your podcast because they sure can hold a lot of stress. Yeah, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. All right, so anyway, Patrick says we suck. Thank you. We love you too. Just because you're in Michigan freezing your ass off here in another month, we don't want to hear from you again. But anyway, yes, we do. All right, so listen,
Love
great
you, man.
show.
Love
Love you guys. If you can think of any ideas, like he said, please send us an email or just comment on one of the shows. Trey made a good comment here this week about a show we can do. We may cover that. Oh, big news. Next Saturday, right? The Wives Show.
Oh, is it next Saturday?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
The Wives Show. We are going to have the wives of law enforcement. We're going to have the wives on the show with us. It's next Saturday at 7 p.m. And the wives are going to be here to tell us a little bit of stories about how they felt with us being out there on the job, and doing the wife thing while they're at home, worried about us, this and that.
Getting called out on Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas, New Year's, everything else. So the wives are going to be joining us. You don't want to miss this show, guys and gals. We're going to have the wives on the show with us starting at 7 p.m. next Saturday. We'll make announcements on Facebook and Instagram and so on. But yeah, you don't want to miss that show.
Will the phone number be active then too?
The phone number will be active at the end of the show, yes.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm sorry. And then you can go, Philip Miller. Remember Philip from Traffic Engineering?
Oh yeah.
Big Phil in the house.
How you
What's up,
doing?
bud? First time I've seen him on here. That's freaking awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Great job. Great
All
job.
right. So we're gonna wrap this
Go ahead.
up.
No, you have a point.
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say is the phone number. So it's gonna be the same phone number, so we can
Yeah.
Same
write
phone
it down.
number.
So I mean, we'd love to hear from you.
And you can go back, guys, and look at the comments on the show. And the phone number was posted 2 different times. It is a Google phone number. So if we're not doing the show, I'm not going to answer it. So please don't call me on that number if we're not doing the show.
Totally call him on that number when we're not doing the show.
3 o'clock, preferably. 3 o'clock in the morning.
All right, you guys are assholes.
All right, love you guys.
Surviving the badge because we
Still got your 6.
Awesome.
Love you guys.